Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where women share their voices and their stories to the mic. I am your girl, Tamekia, and I'm excited to be here with Brandy Jackson, owner of Silver Confetti Events, Silver Confetti Balloon Boutique, also assistant director, program director to Fashion Week, also founder of NAS, Narcissistic Abuse Survivor, and she is a mom of two. Brandy, thank you for coming on and saying yes to Happy Hour Conversations.
Oh, thank you for having me today. This means a lot to me.
Thank you. Before we jump into the show, we're going to share today's affirmation. And before we share the affirmation, let me just check something really quick. I need to make sure. Give me 1 second. Yep, we are on. We are live. All right. So we're going to share today's affirmation. I align my actions with my fear, and I welcome fear because it's normal to human nature. But I also understand that fear is my faith with absolutely no actions. So when I encounter fear, I will work on the actions to birth my faith. Actions can be something as simple as getting pen and paper, writing your plan down, doing a Google search, simply making a phone call. No matter how big or small the action is simply required to believe in actions to your fear, which births your faith. So let's get into today's episode. Brandy, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I have given just a few highlights of what Brandy does, right?
hmm
Tell us who Brandy is.
Oh gosh, uh, Brandy is a lot. I'm extra. Of course, I'm a mom. I am a business owner, but I am currently a woman healing, searching for peace. I am a friend. I want to be a better friend. I just want to overall live just a better, healthy or lifestyle, financially, spiritually, mentally. So that's where I'm at right now. That's who I am.
I love it. I love it. I love to hear when women say like who they are. Because I think, we super people, we superhumans, right? And
Yeah.
we wear so many hats that sometimes the who we are gets lumped into the what we do. And so we can't really
Yeah.
identify the core of who we are. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing who Brandy is. Today we are talking about narcissistic abuse.
hmm
You give us 2 to 3 minutes of your story.
Yes. So the first thing I want to say is I am not a psychologist or anything. This is just my life experience and the therapist and people I have talked to in my own research. The one thing I want to say is that narcissism is extreme self involvement to the degree that it makes a person ignore the needs of those around them. So I entered into a narcissistic relationship. I probably jumped way too fast. You need that space to heal when you're leaving one relationship going into another. And I did not do that. I jumped head first, and um, I did not find out I was honestly in a narcissistic relationship until it was too late. So the relationship was ending, and then you think back and you go over things and why this was happening, and you start putting the pieces together. And so this person was not doctor, diagnosed, but just some of their actions, personalities, characteristics, things that they did leads me to believe that. Um, and again, like I said in my research, I was lied to. Narcissists are master manipulators, very charismatic people. So on initial meetings, very attractive, know how to talk to you. Everything is great because narcissists take on the traits of the people they're trying to conquer. So, and narcissists are female and men, and we all have a little bit of narcissist in us. It's a spectrum, but in my situation, this person was a master manipulator. I was love bombed. I thought that I was getting everything that I had ever dreamed of, until we actually had the opportunity to cohabitate, and then you really start learning people and their behavior. Yeah.
So that's so when
And
you all so when you start living together, that's when things start kind of unraveling for you.
yeah, I started. Yeah, and I could say there were red flags, but you know, when you've got love goggles on, you make allowances, you ignore some things. But then once you're in it, you can't ignore it. You kind of have to address it, especially when it starts affecting your own behavior, and it starts affecting you mentally. And that's what happened to me. Is it took me from this incredible high, um, to a low where I didn't recognize myself at all. I didn't have the motivation or dedication to my business anymore. I mean, I'd literally be showing up trying to figure out to muster up, the motivation and the will, and I lost myself pouring into somebody else.
How
And
long were
yeah,
you in this relationship?
so the relationship in total was 4 years. But there's a process. So there was a year, where you're just talking to people, you're just communicating, and so it's easy to hide things, in that because no one is being true. It's a fairy tale, and that gave the time for me to be groomed, and I gave the time for me to keep falling. I gave time for me to keep allowing, situations to happen, and I fell in love. I cannot speak for my counterpart, but I fell more in love. Or let me say this, maybe I got more codependent. Let me say that because I truly believe it was a trauma bond. Um, when people don't heal again from previous relationships or situations, and trauma is not always like people always think of trauma as somebody's like being physically abused or you know rape or something like seriously bad, but sometimes it can be as a child your emotional needs weren't met. There was something you were trying to express and you were told to just go to your room and be quiet, or you were told that didn't matter. And that's a trauma, that's a traumatic experience for you that we then relive out in other situations. And I don't think in this situation, I don't really know whether it was I was sought after to be manipulated. I just think that that's the way this person operated. It's their normal, it's their pattern of survival. And unfortunately, I fell victim to it.
So you all were in a relationship for 4 years, and what was the marker in the 4 year time frame where you realized, like, oh, wait a minute, I am dealing with a narcissist here?
I didn't really realize I was dealing with a narcissist until the last year, right up until I asked him to go. I had some, I mean, I really broke down. I actually had to take some time and go away myself because I was so broken down. So I want to say maybe January of 2023 is when stuff really hit the fan for me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to make a change because I was literally losing myself. I didn't recognize myself. I was wasting away. I was losing weight, and my whole sole focus all day, every day was it became controlling. I and myself probably started demonstrating narcissistic behaviors because you don't trust the person. So you're going through phones. Who are you talking to? Why are you doing this? You think you're motivating another individual with your words because you see potential in them. So you want them to be better. And you can't motivate anyone else that way. You can't make anybody else do anything. So there was probably a year where everything, maybe a year, 2 years, everything just seemed beautiful and wonderful. Like I said, I ignored some things, but I was in my happy place. I was getting what I wanted. And then maybe that 2 year mark when we actually cohabitated, it was, yeah, it was quick, and it was quick too. Like within the first 30 days, like real quick, that it spiraled, and then it became me trying so desperately to hold on.
Now let me ask you this, because sometimes when we in a thing, we don't see it, but our friends and families, they can see it. And sometimes they have the courage to kind of pull us aside and talk to us, and sometimes they don't. So did you have anybody that was on the outside, friends or family, that kind of seen some signs that wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
healthy and pulled you aside to talk to you? Or Can you share a little bit about that?
I definitely this the narcissistic relationship led to the downfall of a number of personal friendships and relationships. And I honestly think the strong ones survive, but you dump on people. You talk about what you're going through, and sometimes we do it automatically. We think we're just sharing with our friends, but you start dumping. Especially when you're repeatedly choosing something not healthy for you, you're always talking about it. It consumes your life, and so some of my relationships were ruined forever because I kept choosing this person, and people wanted me to choose me. And of course, when I'm in it, I think you're being a hater. Like you don't understand. Love conquers all. And it was like, nah, I'm gonna leave you right there to sit in that, and then you can come back to me when you wake up. But it tore down a bunch of relationships, and it also really affected my relationship with my children. Um, we are still good. We are great, but I got to be honest. For that about 2 year period or 4 year, that whole time, I wasn't really fully present. I was being a mom, I was going through things, and I know I wasn't present because after the situation, I was literally taking my daughter's hair out one day, and I felt like I was actually in the room. I felt like I was actually connecting with her. And it's crazy because anyone who knows me knows my kids are all over my Facebook, especially my daughter. So it's looking like, yeah, like, oh, mom, and go this, and they're traveling and they're doing these things. But really, I was not mentally present with my children. And that is the part that like I kind of still beat myself up on now. But all I can do is just move forward and just make better decisions and be a better role model.
How did it impact your children?
Uh, so kids are very smart. We think we're hiding things. We're not. They're intuitive. They pick up on things. They just don't comment. My daughter, that was one of the things that really hurt me is she didn't want me to be unhappy, and so I've been very transparent with my children. If I talk to them, I was letting them
How old
know
are
that
they?
when I was hurt. So I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son.
Okay.
My 16-year-old, he's a teenager. He's real nonchalant, but I still had to keep probing him because I wanted him to share. I wanted him to open up and let me know how he truly feels. And he let me know. There were some things that he noticed that he saw that he did not like, but he felt like it wasn't his place to comment. And my daughter, what really hurt me about that is when everything was done, we were having a conversation with her, and she kind of shared that she had overheard some things, and um, some things were said to her. Nothing bad like happened to her or anything was done to her, but she had overheard some things, and some things were said to her where when I asked her how come she didn't discuss it with me, and she said, well, I thought you were happy and I just wanted you to be happy. And children take on that burden for us and they shouldn't have to. So again, I wasn't being present, so I was not focused on. I thought everyone was happy. I thought that if I was happy and everything was right in my world, then it would just spill over and everyone else was being happy. And that's not how life works. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful as it relates to like your children and them
Yeah.
sharing, and they just
Yeah.
wanted their mom to be happy.
They just
That's
want, yeah. And once I got the courage and was able to separate myself from the situation, a few months later in the car, my daughter's like, I like this mom. I like this version of you. And that made me happy, but it also made me sad because then it had to make me think like, well, what version of myself was I giving you? And so, and I can't go back and fix that. We cannot go back in the past. We can only move forward. And so now
yes.
I'm just trying to be more mindful of what I speak into my children, my own actions. You can't ask them to do something you're not doing. I tell them to read, but they never see me read. I tell them to act out of love, but they never see me act out of love. So I'm trying to be more cognizant and present with them again.
That's powerful, modeling what you want them to do and see. So
Mhm.
that's a lot. That's very powerful. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you are, coming and just sharing your story and being transparent. Because I think a lot of times we as women we think we are in something alone, and we're not. And there's many people that
Yeah.
has probably experienced something to this nature. So I just want to
Well,
say
you don't
thank
want to.
you.
Yeah, well, you don't want to be judged, because there's always two sides to one story. So it's always like, well, that's what she's saying. We don't really know, what happened. But I had to get to a point where it's like, it doesn't matter what you think happened. I went through it. And what I went through was real. And it doesn't have to be real to you. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It hurt me. It affected me. But now I am in control of how I process that and move forward, because I could choose to be bitter the rest of my life, but that really wasn't working for me. So
And here, look,
I
here's the
have to
thing:
find a way to
it's
find
your
peace.
story, right? This is your
Yeah, it's
story.
mine. Like, yeah. So I'm like, no,
So
this is not the way my story is going.
absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you this: what are some characteristics of a narcissist?
Again, master manipulators lying. It was the constant lying, and it was the constant lying about, like, seeming like just things you don't have to lie about. It would be okay. I'm going to the store, but then a conversation later, it will be, yeah, I stopped over so and so, but you said that you were going, or in my situation, you guys will say that's what you get with this person. I was trying to be supportive, so they did not work a lot. And so it
Mm-hmm.
would be, I paid for everything, paying for haircuts. And it's kind of like, you look around, somebody's asking you for money. They're lying to you about what they're actually using the money for. In my situation, it was so heartbreaking, because I had a situation where my daughter was given birthday money and it was less. And when I came home, half of it was gone.
Okay.
And it's just like, that's a child. Like, why would you take the child's money? I had purchased a couple of different things. I was told that they were stolen, but it's like, you don't really go anywhere. So how did they get stolen? But they were actually pawned and used, for whatever he was using it for. Um, like, just this, like I said, lying, uh,
Sound like you've been a user, manipulative.
a user, manipulator, love bombing. Love bombing is real, and that is where somebody is like, I love you. You are my everything. Like, they make you seem to be their center of their universe. Everything that you do is right. And the another characteristic with narcissists is it's always the other person's fault. So it was a lot of feeling sad for them. In their last relationship, they were abused, they were cheated on, they weren't treated right, and so you develop like, oh, I feel bad for you, and so you want to take that pain away from them, and so that was some of the things I started noticing that were going
So here's another question, because you was in this relationship for 4 years, right? And then
on.
prior to that, you were married, and I don't know what
I
the
was married.
gap was before you jumped into
There
the other
wasn't
relationship,
one.
but you did say you didn't heal. It
There
wasn't a
wasn't
gap.
one. That's that. I'm gonna be transparent there, and I apologize, but that's what was needed. That's where I really made a mistake. Um,
Okay.
that's not really where I made a mistake, but you need that time. You need that time to heal and resolve whatever was going on in that past relationship, and then go, and then move on, determine who you are and how you want to move forward. I did not give myself that time. I thought in my mind grass was going to be greener, so I'm just going to jump off of this. I got it, and God don't bless no mess. It was mess. And that's
So okay, so now you find yourself in this relationship. Do you think there were patterns in your previous relationships that mimic the character traits of a narcissist? Were there had you? I guess there was there a pattern in other men that you dated that had narcissist traits?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I also want to say that me being accountable, I think a lot of it was vanity. I wanted things to look a certain way. I wanted them to be presented a certain way. I wanted that whole power couple feel. I wanted that walk into a room, magnetic, like we got this, we out here, Jay Z and Beyonce in it. Like, I wanted that, and you weren't going. And then the other part of that is, I felt like on some level my marriage had failed, and so I didn't want this to look like a failure too.
Mm.
And I think that is the reason I held on so long, is because I did go from one to another relationship, and I didn't want it to fall. I wanted it to be that fairy tale, and it just was not that. Yeah, but definitely realizing some characteristic traits in the other people I dated, but also in myself. So I also had to go back and do a lot of my own back work to find out why I am this way. Like, why am I attracted to these people? Why am I always so drawn to like emotionally unavailable people? And a part of that is my conquering. A part of that is my conqueror nature. I feel like, I could walk in the room, I'm Brandy, I got this. That's that event planner. I'm the tear this event down is gonna do that. And it wasn't all I got conquered.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think some of it also can be like history? Were you raised in a situation where you saw healthy relationships?
Ooh, that is a good. Yes, I was. I was with, initially, it was just me and my mom, but then she met and married my stepdad, and absolutely wonderful. I don't even call him stepdad. I'm just explaining that's my dad. So yes, I was raised and I saw a successful relationship. But one thing I will say is it was me and my mom for a long time. I did not have my biological father in my life until I was 8 years old. And even then, major props to my mother because she never downed my dad. She never like downplayed him or said anything. It was just he wasn't there. And one day she did. She came and asked me, like, your dad wants to meet you. Do you want to meet him? And even when my first seeing them together, my parents sat down and talked, and it was a good feeling. I got to meet my brothers and play with them. So it was a good. I have always been seen that shown, good relationships. But I did have to realize there was some. I had some abandonment issues, and one of them stemmed from when my grandfather left at 11 and the way that was done. And I did not realize that until I was in the mix, that affected me so much. But that was my first real abandonment issue, was when my grandfather left. And this was somebody like I'm grandpa's baby who had always been in his life. I could do no wrong. And then one day I got a phone call at school because him and my grandmother were having problems, and he got on a plane and moved out of state. And
And
I
that was
never
it?
heard from him. That was it. Never heard from him again in my life. To this day, in my mind, I know he's not, but Grandpa is still alive somewhere. Never heard from him again in my life. And then I think other things come from my own personal insecurities. Growing up, that whole light skin, dark skin thing. I know, that people can feel however they want, but with me growing up, I was smaller, so I was always made fun of about my size. I mean, I got attention, but I was always made fun about my size. I am not the light skin, pretty eyes, long hair. So there was always that dynamic. And so I think going into this relationship, even though I'm confident in myself, I think I thought I was never going to be good enough to be with him or what I thought he was. And I got into it with that mindset, thinking like, oh, I got I got him. Like I finally got what I wanted. It looks how I want it to look. But just because it looks how you want it to look doesn't mean it's healthy for you, and or that it feels how you want it to feel. Yeah. And other things
That's
that played,
that's
yeah.
that's a lot. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Once you recognized what you were in, what steps did you take to get into your healing process?
Uh, well, one, being transparent, I did take some time away. I stepped away. Thankfully, I have very good supporters in my corner. So I took some time away and kind of stepped back to remove myself from the situation, so that I could think clearly. Because when you are in the middle of something, you're just you are in survival mode, and that's what I realized is I was in survival mode. And when I stepped away, I had some medical issues going on where I mean, like they were literally telling me like, I can't believe you haven't had a heart attack or stroke out. That's how high your blood pressure is. Like they wanted to keep me in the hospital. That is how high my blood pressure was, and I had to be put on anxiety medication. So that was kind of like where I started knowing, because I don't like taking medicine. I don't like, I just, all these other issues, health issues started coming up. And so I kind of knew I had to make a change. But to be honest with you, God was always calling on me the whole time. I could never really relax in the relationship because I always felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, even when I wanted to relax. And narcissistic relationships are up and down. It's extremely high highs. When it is good, it is good. But when it is bad, it is bad. And so it's like a drug. You get used to that up and down. But God was calling on me, and one night it was like I could not sleep. I was up all night. I prayed about it. I was talking to myself, and the next morning, I just had to gain the courage, and I just said, "If you love me, I need you to go." And we, even at that time, we had put a plan in place. So initially, the plan was for each of us to get help, kind of work on ourselves, and come back together. And that just turned into a whole bunch of a year of mess. It's taken me, I think the last communication was probably in April, and it took me that
So
whole time.
so he ended up leaving, but so did you go to therapy or anything?
Yeah, when he left, it was like immediately my life got back together. But heart wants what it wants, and I started missing him. And of course, he's a good talker. I like how he talked to me, so he came back. I brought him back in. Immediately, it's like my life, the energy changed. Like where I felt like I was getting it together. Literally immediately, I felt the energy shift, and I went back to the energy I was feeling. So I really knew that second time I let him come back, like, oh, you can't do this, because I could feel the energy shift. And so it happened again. This time the exit was not so nice because it was just tumultuous. It was crazy. But finally separated. But even in that, with narcissists, they have a tendency to hover because narcissists are always looking for their next supply. So they can't leave you alone because they're still benefiting from you. They need you. And keep in mind, this person wasn't working. I was paying for everything. So when you have nothing, he had the opportunity to play victim. And of course, I looked like the bad guy. And it was, you kicked me out. You didn't really love me. You didn't do this. And it's like, did I not just fund your whole life? And it's not even about money.
So let me ask you, the whole 4 years?
Not the whole 4 years, but was money
Okay.
given throughout the whole 4 years? Yes. But
Okay.
the last 2 years was me, all me.
Okay.
And okay, well, let me say this. Let me be honest. It might have been 2, 3 months he might have had a job, but that would have been it. But it just, yeah, it takes a toll.
I'm sure it does. Can you tell us, especially with your experience, and I mean, we want to hit the younger generation and, women in our age group as well. But can you at least give us about 5 recognizable signs of a narcissist as we are like in the beginning stages of dating?
5 recognize. I actually had this put over. So 5 recognizable signs. One, lying. They're not consistent with their stories, what they're saying. Asking you for money, like almost immediately. Like if I think back, I was asked for money within the first 2, 3 weeks that we had even been in communication with each other. So asking for money, lying, um, what else? Love bombing. They're love bombing you. I love you. They never take accountability for anything. It's always flipped back on you. Apologies never have any action. I'm sorry for doing this, but there's no real change. I'm never going to do that again. And it's a it's like they wear a mask. So outwardly to everyone else, it's this charismatic, sweet person, but they quickly change. And so at home, I got one person, but yes, outwardly and on social media, you see a different person. I mean, you can kind of say that for anybody because, of course, I'm not sitting around like this, at home either. But
Right, right, right.
it's a stark, like it's a difference. It's a total difference. And well, you went out there and you were nice and pulling out chairs and doing all that, but then you come home and it's I don't do no dishes, I don't take out trash. That's what a woman is supposed to do. I don't feel obligated. I had my door broken, windows busted out, and literally told it was my fault because I didn't open the door. I was constantly told that it was my fault. I was wrong for my reaction to things done to me. So, like, if I found out, like, if I had given money and found out the money was not used for what I thought, and then I asked about it, why are you checking me? I'm a grown man, but you asked me for money. Like, so, so it's situations like that, paying attention to lack of accountability, always lying, stories don't line up. They say one thing, actions never match. They want this, it's these grandiose dreams, vacations and all these things, but their actions don't align, to what they want to do. I want to go on vacations too, but when I want to go on a vacation, you know what I do? I ramp up my social media. I start selling more things. I start talking to people more. I start going to more network events. That's how I plan to go on a vacation or, to start a new project. But with narcissists, it's a grandiose. It's a lie. It's a mask. And he took on what he thought I wanted, and of course, I fell for that because I thought I was getting that partner, that the yin and yang. So those
So
those are the signs.
I was about to say, it sounds like a lot of gaslighting and a lot of blaming.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, gaslighting. Yes, yes, that's a
Okay.
good. Yes, yeah,
Wow. So you have built a business around this, right? NAS.
yes.
Or are you still in the process of building your business? And if so, just can you share what your business is and like the resources for people who are dealing with this type of relationship and abuse?
Okay, so I started NAS, Narcissistic Abuse Survivors. Honestly, out of anger, I was mad at our last interaction, and a friend of mine had recognized I had talked to, and they had recommended. I follow some people on social media, so that's where I started like finding out more that other people have gone through this, that it's like really a thing, which led me into doing more research. Um, Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question here?
Well, the resources and more about your
Oh,
business.
yeah. And so I started it because I had started doing videos on Instagram. And honestly, I just started doing it as my way to share because I was angry, I was upset, and I would write, but like I wanted to give like a real testimonial about what I was going through because it's a process. I was angry, I was hurt, I was mad at myself, I was mad at them. So I started Narcissistic Abuse Survivors as a way to one, provide resources for those who don't know where to start when they are feeling stuck and they don't know which way to go. Because a lot of us will just sit and you like hide under the covers. But I want people to know it's okay to talk about it. Therapy, to go to therapy, to mental, to really work on your mental. So those affirmations, it's okay to say them and have them, but you have to read them. You have to become motivated and dedicated to your own personal healing. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable. So I personally am going through classes so that I can become an abuse counselor, so that I can coach other women through it and uh, send them in the right direction. But working with, like I said, working with therapists, letting people know, communicating that working on your mental health is okay. You saying that you see a therapist does not make you crazy. It means that you're actually less crazy because you're trying to figure out how to be better. Um, and again, just letting men and women know they're not alone. And I do want to say that Nas is for men and women. Women have narcissistic personality disorder too. We can be the same way, very manipulative, charismatic, use people, lie, do the same things. I do not want it to come across that I'm just bashing men or I'm just bashing this person. This is like there is a whole just movement about this being done to people and people going through this. So it's not a fad, it's healing. I really am a promoter of getting yourself together, of going to therapy. So reading, sometimes you gotta be careful of what you feed yourself. Not only what you put in your body, but what you listen to. So I want to just provide those different resources for women. I started listening to a young lady out of Atlanta. Her name is Erica Mason. It's real positive music, because we don't realize how much the song, it got so bad I couldn't even ride in the car and listen to the regular radio because it would trigger me and send me like, and then I'd be having a great day, and it didn't even, it not even a particular song. It's just this song. And so I had to start doing things to keep my mental health, keep me at peace. So I want to be able to help other people with that so that they're not choosing to sit around in the room and just listen to Mary J's I'm Not Gonna Cry all day. Like, it's okay. Get outside, get in the sunshine. I sometimes would have to do that. Like, just open the window. I went and bought plants. I kill plants. I went and bought plants. You have to change your environment. Um, I want to be able to just encourage people in that way, and also let people know that the healing process is your own. Don't listen to anyone else because people always come, just get over it, just shake it off. It's a mental abuse that went on for a long time. I can't shake it off. If I could, I would. And we wouldn't
I
be
always say people who
here.
tell you kind of just get over it and shake it off, one
Yeah,
or two things that they, one, haven't been through the experience, or two, they're not emotionally tuned in, right?
it means they're narcissists. You lack
So,
empathy for others.
exactly, exactly.
And not
So,
saying everyone should just be sad for people, but yeah, be understanding.
so if tell us your social handles is for every business that you have, specifically
Okay.
for Nas.
So for Nas right now, we are on Facebook, so it's under Narcissistic Abuse Survivors. My handle for Silver Confetti Events is at Silver Confetti Events, and then at SCE Balloon Boutique for Silver Confetti Events Balloon Boutique on Instagram.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we'll drop all of your handles as it relates
Mhm.
to all of your businesses.
Mhm.
We getting ready to wrap up really quick. And so, is there anything that you want to say or something that I have not asked that you want to share with the audience?
I just really want to encourage people that if you are trying to make a change in your life, to get used to the idea of get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You cannot make any true change until you, as I was saying to you earlier, you learn to sit in your own mess. I know that I've been talking, and I don't want to just make it seem like put all the blame on somebody else. I allowed things to happen. I have to be accountable for the part that I played, but I also have to be accountable for my healing. I send that person off with love. I pray, that they are getting their life together and will prayerfully go on to be better themselves. But if I could leave anybody with anything, is operate from a standpoint of love and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're truly going to make any kind of change for yourself.
I totally agree. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. And that is a work in progress, right? Like, we have to learn, because being comfortable is easy.
That's why that's yes, and that's why a lot of
That's the
people
easy part.
stay in situations or go back because you're comfortable. It's familiar. Even if it hurts, I know that hurt. I'm familiar
Mm-hmm.
with that hurt. So I can
Mm-hmm.
handle that hurt. I don't know what this hurt is gonna feel like. So I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna stay over here. I think you end up losing yourself. So you
Yeah, I
gotta
stick
get
to what
I've
I
been
stick to what
been
I
real
know.
uncomfortable. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I'm grateful for that because I can look at the journey a little differently now. It doesn't hurt as much. It's a blessing. God used what I kept choosing to change me, and I'm grateful for that.
and I was getting ready to say, because sometimes the things that we deem to be bad, or the things that we go through in life,
Hmm.
I always look at it as it can be a lesson, right? If you choose to learn
Yeah,
from it,
if you choose it, yeah.
or that thing we deem to be bad, on going a little further down the journey, it can turn out for your good. You just have to
Yeah.
trust whatever the process is. But especially when you keep banging your head up against the door and what God telling you to
Yeah.
do, what the universe is
Yeah.
telling you to do, right? Once you
Yeah.
keep
And he
banging
will
your
get
head,
your
you
attention. He will get your attention.
absolutely,
When
absolutely.
you
But it
aren't
still can
listening.
turn out to be for your good, because now, like in your
Yeah.
case, you can use your story to help others, to be there for others, to help people walk through this process. And
Yeah.
you share like some recognizable signs, right? My hope is
Yeah.
someone will listen to this podcast and be like, well, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
might be dealing with this, you
Yep.
know? So
Yes.
before we wrap up, we have what we call rapid fire growth questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, all right. So share one of your favorite affirmations.
Ah, I don't even know if it's an affirmation or just, I always just say, what God has for me is mine. So I don't just, that's always my saying. Like,
That is,
I just,
listen, if that's your saying and
I,
that's your
yeah,
affirmation,
I tell myself that probably 50 times a day. Like, I remind, go, what God has for me is mine. It is mine.
that
So
is
I
your
just remember
affirmation then.
that.
That is
Yeah.
your affirmation. Somebody can take that and put it in their affirmation box.
Yes.
The second question is, name a book or a self-help tip that has helped you as a woman in or on this journey.
I speak high praises to Atomic Habit, and I cannot remember the author's name right now. James Gray, but it's Atomic Habit. One of the things that I've learned is not that a lot of us have bad habits; we have bad processes. So, like when we try to say in the New Year's, "Oh, I'm about to start working out and I'm gonna go January 1st." Well, sweetheart, if you weren't drinking water and going on walks the last 6 months of your life, what makes you think you're gonna wake up on January 1st and just work out every day? So we have to change our processes, how we do things, and then as we slowly change those processes, we build good habits. So I definitely recommend Atomic Habits.
Absolutely. I support that because we need a system in place. I was just talking to
You,
someone
yes,
about something that I put together about how we as women can put more of a system in place versus just saying what I'm going to do. Because when you don't have a plan,
no. And when you
it's
don't
not
find a time for those plans,
work.
it's just be all over the place.
It
Yes,
don't work. So thank you for sharing your affirmation and your favorite book. We are getting ready to close, and I am so thankful that you came on to share your
thank
story,
you.
be transparent, and to be vulnerable. And so now you are now part of the Sister Friend Tribe. Sister Friend
Yeah,
Tribe, come on, they share their stories, and now you are part of our Sister Friend Tribe. So thank you so much.
thank
Any
you.
last
I
words for the
appreciate.
audience?
No, tune in to the next happy hour conversation. Make sure you do. And just Tamekia, thank you so much. You don't understand what this meant to me. And thank you for giving me a platform. This is my first time really talking about it live. I was really nervous, but you made me feel really comfortable. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are getting ready to close. Remember to choose to grow daily, show up as your best self. And remember, fear is just faith with no action. So put action to your fear. I am your girl, Tamekia, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. Talk soon.